Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Aaron Barker Show. Thank you all so very much for the opportunity to be in your vehicle, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, henhouse, outhouse, or doghouse, wherever it is you may be listening to the program today. It is great to see and hear you all. Broadcasting live on Facebook, back over on Vocal with their new and improved live feature that's there, and also on Rumble, YouTube, and D-Live. Broadcasting live all over the place this fine December 13th, 2025. A lot of stuff to get into today. And really looking forward to the program, looking forward to getting back in the seat here. I did receive an unexpected endorsement right before. I got a phone call, and it was a voicemail, but yet I wanted to play this for you. For all of you haters out there, all you that guzzle the haterade on a daily basis when it comes to me in this show, I received a call. And when asked what he thinks about this show, if he were to rate this show, Donald Trump said,
A plus 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 plus.
I mean, wow. That, to me, that's a pretty daggone good endorsement right there. So, Mr. President, what do you think about the Aaron Barker Show? If you had to rate the Aaron Barker Show, Mr. President, how would you do so?
A plus 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 plus.
Thank you. Gosh, I feel so good about hearing that. That makes me happy. And I hope you all are happy too. Don't forget, you can join the show. You can chat it up with us on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, D-Live, and Vocal. Yeah, all of those places. Looking forward to hearing from folks that are out there and that are watching the show. And we're just under 2 weeks before Christmas. I hope you have all your Christmas shopping done. As well. All right, let's jump into this today. Got a lot of stuff that I wanted to get through, and I apologize for running a few minutes late. Just got up this morning, was doing some show prep, and then I figured, I needed to do some last minute prep to print myself up, make myself look pretty for the camera, and decided that I make the schedule here, so I was going to go on a few minutes late. So I appreciate y'all's patience. All right, so several things I want to get into today, and we're going to dive right into all of those. These are all important. Let's see. There it is right there. Okay. All of these things important to our country. Now, look, okay. There are people out there, when I post a reel or a video or when I do this show here, there are people out there who constantly accuse me of never saying anything nice about the president. And that's not true. I do. I have said several things in the past that I think are great. I have made several statements regarding the lowering of illegal immigrations coming across the border, about the pardoning of January 6ers, about the overturning of Roe v. Wade during his presidency. I've said many of those things, and this is so. People just maybe not remember that. So occasionally, it's good to just go back through and watch some of the old reels and videos that are posted up there. But for all of you out there who say I never say anything good about the president, I would just like to start the show out today saying something good about what the president is about to do. Trump is expected to sign an executive order that reclassifies Mary Jane as soon as Monday. Now, what they want to do here is they want to classify it from a let me just go ahead and read this here. It says that President Donald Trump is expected to issue an executive order as soon as Monday that would allow for the reclassification of marijuana. A person familiar with the matter told CNBC. Such a move would allow cannabis companies to fall under different tax regulations and encourage investment. The Washington Post reported Thursday that Trump is expected to use an executive order to instruct federal agencies to reclassify marijuana as a less regulated Schedule III drug from a Schedule I. Why it is in the same category as hardcore drugs, I don't understand. But it says here that Trump is expected to use an executive order to instruct the federal agencies to reclassify marijuana as a less regulated Schedule 3 from a Schedule 1. And it says that, sorry about that. It says that Trump rescheduling marijuana was not an if in our assessment, but a win, Ed Groshans of Compass Point, a middle market investment bank, wrote to clients in a Friday note. They said that the reported change would be positive for the cannabis industries, and it was. Immediately as this was announced, they had stocks that were just soaring with cannabis companies. Weed producers Tilray Brands and Canopy Growth jumped more than 44% and 52%. Cannabis greenhouse operator Innovative Industrial Properties surged nearly 9%. The Amplify Seymour Cannabis ETF rallied more than 54% for its best day on the record. It says here that they expect if Trump orders cannabis to be rescheduled, the Drug Enforcement Administration would finalize a proposal rule for the reclassification by summer, and that this is really great on several things. First, it reclassifies something that should not be classified as a Schedule 1 drug. Marijuana should not. Second, it changes and gives it changes the structure of the tax code, so companies can allow investors now. They'll still be federally regulated, and they'll still have to get licenses for distribution, like dispensaries, etc. However, it changes a great amount of the funding that flows to it. It won't immediately impact the crime rates, the arrest rates of people that are holding marijuana, because it's more about the amount that they're holding and not the type that they're holding, because they have the intent to distribute, et cetera, that's added onto those charges. But it is going to be good for the economy. It's going to be good for businesses. It's going to be great for research and development, because people now will think that marijuana, because it's being changed by Trump, and this is one of those crazy cult-like type mentalities, because this is being reclassified by Donald Trump, people maybe start to look at it as a legitimate source for research and development and a really helpful substance when assisting people with cancer and other issues, people with like Lyme disease and fibromyalgia and EDS and things that would be eased and helped with the usage of marijuana. Now, I am not a doctor. Consult your physician. I'm not telling you to go use this at all. I'm just simply saying that these are some of the ripple effects that can come from Trump signing this executive order. That's fantastic news. So kudos to President Trump for listening to whomever it was that told him they should do this and doing it, because it's going to help the economy. Now, if we could just get them to chill out on the hemp crops that are in Kentucky and help alleviate the farmers or help open up farmers' ability to grow hemp here in the state, something that they've been talking about for quite a long time, but that was zapped during this past government shutdown. If we could just open that up, because if we're changing the classification of marijuana from a 3 to a 1, from a 1 to a 3. So if we're changing marijuana classification from a 1 to a 3, what is wrong with hemp? Hemp was used historically for cordage and for multiple various uses in manufacturing, clothing, etc. It should not be something that's banned by the federal government. So now that Donald Trump, whoever the Trump whisperer is that told Trump that he should sign this executive order and implement this change for marijuana, they should also whisper in his ear, hey, we need to lighten up on hemp too. So see, we can talk about the positive things that somebody does. We can talk about the great things that people do, because this is, I consider this a great move by the Trump administration in reducing or in expanding and opening up investment opportunities, tax breaks for companies, research and development, and hopefully this will flow down into the criminal aspect of this, because people are arrested and put in jail for holding small amounts of marijuana, but it's used. It's a, for lack of a better term, it's a trumped up charge. It's an add-on charge, So they put it on there because if now rather than, what's the best word for this? It's a modifier, right? It modifies the charges against a person. It's an amplifier of what's already being charged against them, the intent to distribute or the content, etc., or the amount that's added there as a multiplier to amplify the charges against a person. So hopefully this change will move towards that and reduce the need for them to arrest people for small amounts, and maybe reduce the need for people to actually sell, because now it's going to be available legally and you can buy it without going to jail. That's another thing about this. You think about how alcohol, they had the massive prohibition on alcohol. Now, the alcohol prohibition was because the Rockefellers, they were trying to find a way to get rid of their byproduct from manufacturing. So they had petroleum and they needed to find a usage for that. So they were pushing that as to be refined and turned into gasoline. Alcohol was a better source of fuel and still is a better source of fuel. There's an interview on my Rumble, and I believe it might be on YouTube as well. There's an interview about alcohol is fuel that you can go listen to from a gentleman who's been doing this for a long time. But the usage of alcohol as fuel was something that the Rockefellers didn't want. So they pushed with their power and their lobbying to have a prohibition on alcohol, not because of drinking it, right? They wanted the prohibition on alcohol because it was a better, cleaner, cheaper source of fuel. But they needed something to maximize or to help get rid of their petroleum byproduct or their rubber byproduct and manufacturing byproducts. So they pushed for legislation to make alcohol illegal. Now, how did they do it? They didn't say, no, we can't have alcohol. It's a better source of fuel. They did it through the church. They did it through Christians. They did it through teetotalers. They pushed the moral idea that alcohol was destructive and dangerous and immoral and unethical and ungodly and unchristian. So once they got the Christians behind them and they were pushing for it, they were prohibition, just launched, it took off. See, manipulation of people through morality and ethics and Christianity, etc., that is a way to manipulate a person to the max. We're going to be talking a little bit more about this later, regarding our speech and conduct and the way that we talk to people, etc., which has been a big, huge thing of mine that I've been on for a few years. But just to kind of push that there, just to kind of to drop that in there, when alcohol went through the prohibition, it was to help the rich, and they used the church to implement that idea. So the church just at that point, yet again, just became a bunch of useful idiots. Now, you're listening to the Aaron Barker Show. We are broadcasting on Facebook. We are also on Vocal. We are also on YouTube, all over the place. So if you all want to join with us, you are welcome to do so. And let me see you in the comments as well. Give us a shout out over there. And I will be happy to talk about your comments. Now, Trump did say in an interview recently that he gave himself an A++++, rating. And I do have that video here. Let me see if it'll pop up. But some people are not as optimistic about Donald Trump saying that. He was asked, I don't have to play the entire interview, or if I can, and that's another thing I'm going to talk about today, is that because I was actually, I'm changing one of the videos here.
Pretty good.
Hold on a second. I'm changing one of the videos here so that I can play this video here, but I do have queued up and ready to play the interview or the podcast that Kirk Cameron did, and it was with his son talking about hell. So I'm very excited to look at that with you all, because hell has been one of those topics that didn't necessarily start and I don't want to call it necessarily a deconstruction, but it didn't necessarily start with that, but it came out of my studying of the scriptures and of being a little bit more critical of things. So here is the video with President Trump, and this is on the, let's see, Dasha is her name, I believe.
But I do want.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this here for you. This is Trump and his rating on the economy in this interview.
Pretty good.
But I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give
A
your
plus.
economy. A plus.
Yeah, A plus 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 plus. Pretty good.
But I do want to talk about the economy.
Let me redo this here so that we can have a better shot. So, see if this will work. Right here.
Pretty good.
But I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give
A
your
plus.
economy. A plus.
Yeah, A plus 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 plus. Pretty good.
But I do want to talk.
A plus 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 plus. It sounded like one of those, like when you're, it sounds like a kid, you know, rating what he thinks of your mac and cheese that you made. And it's not even Kraft mac and cheese. It's not homemade mac and cheese. It's not Kraft mac and cheese. It's like the store brand mac and cheese. And the kid's like just noshing at the mac and cheese. He's like, A plus 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 plus. And okay, that sounds great. Now, some economists and some Trump supporters give him a gentleman's C. And many people are not as optimistic. It says that December 9th, President Donald Trump delivered remarks during an event at Mount. The president gave himself top marks earlier this week at the White House in an interview with Politico's Dash emerged. As cost of living concerns have become a persistent liability for GOP, Trump's response reflects his impulse to downplay affordability problems and insist the economy is strong, even as White House officials and Republican lawmakers say the issue must be addressed head on. We do have inflation that's rising. We still do have business owners that are struggling to make it. We still do have, in some markets, stagnant wages. We have difficult job numbers. There's a lot of pessimism that's there. And I know that a lot of people give Trump a hard time, and I don't. Oh my gosh, I say a lot of people. I'm one of those people that give Trump a hard time. But one of the things that I think would go a long way with his image with people is if Trump were to actually say, "Hey, we botched up on this one. We're doing better. We're getting better. But we really need work in this area." I mean, if he were to actually say, if he were to present just a smidge of humility, I believe some people would have more of an easier time giving him the benefit of the doubt on some of these situations and some of the things that he talks about. But unfortunately, he has this bravado nature, this authoritarian nature, which causes people to not want to listen to the positive things that he's saying. And I know it's that people are, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yes, that's true. In a lot of situations, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. With Trump, not only is it how he says it, it's what he says, which causes the problems and the consternation with many. You know, if he were to just say, look, you know, right now I think we're at about a B. I mean, nobody would harm him for saying a B. You know, if he were to say a B plus, even B minus, something like that. Because at least now, even though some people would still think that's hogwash, at least there is a semblance of humility there where he is acknowledging that, I know that people are hurting. I know that people are struggling. I know that there are issues, but I think we're doing X, Y, Z to get better. I mean, a relatable person. There are several people, by the way, there are several people that are ramping up to, I believe, run for president. And one of those people that I think is very obvious is Kentucky's very own Andy Beshear. And one of the reasons I believe that Andy Beshear will go far in politics, I don't know if he'll ever be the president or not. I don't know if he's charismatic enough to be the president. But one of the reasons that somebody like Andy Beshear will do well in politics is because he as he presents himself, as he discusses and talks about topics, he's a normal guy. He's just a dude. And he speaks respectfully. He speaks humbly. There isn't this bravado, this chest banging that you see in the Trump side of things, with Trump and with Vance and with the ilk that follow that, thinking that somehow this increased testosterone is going to change the culture and the political landscape. It's the ability to communicate and connect with many people on multiple levels in many different ways. That is really the biggest thing that is one of the biggest things that Donald Trump lacks. His ability as a billionaire, which I don't understand the whole he's a common man, he's never been in politics, he's outsider. He's a freaking billionaire. And we're supposed to be leery of billionaires, with George Soros, Bill Gates, Elon Musk before he went all MAGA, Jeff Bezos. We're supposed to be leery of billionaires. But I digress. We're way past that. We're now in the second term that Donald Trump is in. We're not going to have to worry about this again, regardless of what people say out there about him running in 2028. It's not constitutionally possible. The only way that it would happen, as I've said before, the only way I believe that there is a road for Trump to be president in 2028 and beyond is if he runs with somebody as their running mate. And then that person steps down or is incapacitated or is 25th Amendmented, and then Trump takes that office then. Now, how long they could do that until there's a constitutional amendment which prevents it, but that would be the way I believe that they would be able to constitutionally get away with it. But I digress. The whole circumstance, the whole issue that a lot of people have about it, his policies are still Republican, the policies are still not necessarily, they're not conservative. They are Republican, but they're not conservative. The policies that he has, people obviously disagree with vehemently. I do believe that there would be a massive amount of grace that was, maybe not a massive amount. There would be some more grace that was extended his way if he, by chance, were to actually be a little more kind and a little more gracious to people. And that is, by the way, not a sign of weakness at all. Being kind, being gracious, being meek, those are not in any way weak. Those are exactly what Jesus told us that we should also be doing. All right, now let's look at this here. So a lot of churches have taken to trolling the federal government during this holiday season. And I just clicked out of that phooey. There are a lot of churches that have decided they want to use their nativity scenes as a political statement. And let's check this out here. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures because these are just a few of the pictures that people have, or a few of the displays that people have shown for their nativity scenes. Here's one. This is an Illinois church nativity scene. It shows baby Jesus, little baby Jesus down there. Shows little baby Jesus in zip ties surrounded by ICE agents. Here's another shot of that one. This is funny. Here's one that says ICE was here. This is a better shot of that one. ICE was here. A Massachusetts church is drawing criticism from Catholic leaders and immigration officials for its nativity scene, which replaces Jesus and Mary and Joseph here. Let's show some other ones because this is another shot of that one. with outside the barbed wire fence surrounded by the ICE agents, and there's little baby Jesus down there in zip ties. And people, of course, are upset about these different types of nativity scenes because they're saying that they're political. Here's what a news story. Let me see if we have time to cover this before the segment ends. Yeah, we might have time to cover that. So let's go ahead here and check this out as well. So here we go. Oh, you got to get this a little bit more. I think that this to me is a great way to troll the federal government. I think that this is, and I'm glad to see that churches are taking this stand against these against this as well. Let's see if I can get, where did that go? Sorry, trying to change this. Well, I did have time. Sorry, it's not letting me do this, but some of these, I'll go ahead and play the audio perhaps here. Anyway, so there are people, of course, that are upset about this. One gentleman took to destroying his one of these. Let's do this and show you that. My apologies here. This actually happened. CNN was covering one of these, and they caught this guy on tape. They caught this guy on tape doing this at this nativity scene. So here we go.
Prompted a man to tear it down. A church in Charlotte added mannequins dressed as ICE agents standing over Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. While CNN was at the church, an unidentified man approaches the nativity and knocks the mannequins to the ground. Video also shows him tearing up "Know Your Rights" signs before driving away. The installation was created with a local art collective and references the Trump administration's immigration crackdown, according to the reverend of the church.
It's a piece of art. If you don't like art, you don't have to look at it. You know, if you don't agree with somebody's message, we're not in kindergarten.
Shipley told CNN they were not planning to contact the authorities as nothing was broken or damaged. This controversial...
So there you go. So this gentleman did not like, I say gentleman, I use that term very loosely. This guy did not like what they were doing and the depiction that they had of the ICE agents there at this nativity scene, and he decided to go ahead and vandalize it. Now, he's probably one of the same guys that complained that liberals were tearing up Donald Trump signs in yards of churches and buildings and residents. So all of that...
This controversial nativity...
So all of that was probably happening... As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of our lives. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow, though. Mike created the Giza Dream Bed Sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza Sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. The first night you sleep on these Giza Sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else. Giza Dream Sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors. Go to mypillow.com. There you'll find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets, and so much more. Call 800-892-6955 and use the promo code Barker. That's 800-892-6955 and use the promo code Barker, or go to mypillow.com and make sure you use the promo code Barker. Your best night's sleep is just a few clicks away.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Give up, there's no tomorrow. Your kind must learn to fall in line and face your crimes. You think you're something special, deprived of your potential.
Welcome back to the Aaron Barker Show. Thanks for staying with us. So a lot of people are doing the nativity scenes. Churches are making a statement with their nativity scenes and showing that they're not going to put up with the improper treatment of human beings, especially here on Christmas. There are several more of these pictures that we can show regarding, there we go, regarding these folks. And I think, again, I think that this is tremendous. And why do I think it's so tremendous? Why do I think this is such a good idea? Why am I in support of these? Well, I believe one of the big reasons is that the church obviously is the moral center. Those churches that have a grasp on what it's like to be Christ-like, those churches that understand what treating humans like human beings is. Here's another one. It's all three, Mary, Jesus, and Joseph in cages. They're separated, and they are shown here as, being criminals. And this is good on several reasons. First, they're taking a stand against what they see as injustice. The other thing I think is great about this is that the Department of Homeland Security has an out-of-control, extremely annoying social media presence as well. Here are some, by the way. An urban village church in River Forest, Illinois. The nativity scene displays a sign stating, "Due to ICE activity in our community, the Holy Family is in hiding." Another Lake Street church in Evanston, Illinois, shows a more dramatic scene where baby Jesus is zip-tied and wrapped in an emergency blanket, separated from his parents by a wire fence. Mary and Joseph wear gas masks, while figures representing Romans wear makeshift vests labeled ICE. Lake Street Church explained their installation is not subtle because the crisis it addresses is not abstract. It says the Holy Family were refugees. By witnessing this familiar story through the reality faced by immigrants today, we hope to restore its radical edge and to ask what it means to celebrate the birth of a refugee child while turning away those who follow in that child's footsteps. And these points that they're making are good. It's time that the church steps out of its obscurity and steps out of its desire to remain neutral and take a stand when it comes to discussions like this regarding ICE. And I'm talking about all churches, because what gets me is that for nearly 20 years, I started out as a neocon. I voted for George W. Bush twice. I was all for the war in Iraq. I was all for the war in Afghanistan. I was all for the heavy deportations. If you had asked me this 20 years ago, what's going on with ICE right now, I probably would have supported it 22 years ago. Now, the more, when I woke up in 2006 and realized that there is more going on behind the scenes when it comes to the government controlling and the government taking away our rights and such, so many more things that I was opened up to and saw, I realized that this is a power grab from the federal government and those within the deep state, the powers that be. And this is not just a left-right issue. This is an everyone issue. When I realized that, I understood that we needed to control the government, not the people. It's not about controlling the people. It's not about preventing the freedoms of people. It's about controlling the federal government and its overreach. Now, there are good things that the government does. There are things that the government does regarding safety that I see as necessary and I see as important. The majority of things that the government does could probably be done more efficiently and better by the private sector. And I do think that a review is necessary to see what those things are that can be done when it comes to the private sector. Overall, it shocks me that the people that I listened to, that I read, that I shared on social media, whose material I used for me to whose material I used for show prep, are now fully behind and supporting a Gestapo-like agency, literally roaming through the streets, stopping people who are brown-skinned or who speak a different language, asking them for their papers, asking them where they were born. That to me, the freedom-loving, constitutional-supporting, Bill of Rights-toting people, where are you when it comes to this? Why is it that this is a left-right issue? Why do people who stand against the unjust actions of ICE, why are the people who are standing against the unjust actions of ICE automatically declared leftist liberal crazies? There are not leftist liberal crazies that are here speaking out against ICE. I'm sure that there are some of them, just like there are some right-wing nutbags who are speaking for ICE. But why did this become a political issue? And I'm talking directly to the people that were my influencers, that influenced me, whose books I owned and read. Why is it that you are not standing against the government overreach and the treatment of the government and the treatment of individuals by the federal government? Why are you not crying out about this? I understand that there are laws. I understand that there are ways for people to enter the country correctly, what we deem correctly, what we deem legal. And I understand that there was a great amount that's been curtailed of illegal border crossings. I understand that. I understand that there are laws, and I understand enforcing those laws. But when did going to dry cleaners and restaurants and residences and people's cars and dragging them out of their vehicles? What about in Massachusetts, where they drug a 16-year-old intern at a courthouse, a judge's intern, a 16-year-old judge's intern was drug out of a car, arrested, and detained by ICE over a mistaken identity? What about the American citizens that are being detained either because they're speaking out against ICE or because there is a mistaken identity? What about the small percentage of crimes, the small percentage of criminals that are actually coming out of the arrests and the operations that ICE is doing? A few weeks back, I extolled the move that ICE did when they were working with, I think it was called Operation Scumbag, when they were working with the Florida government and they rounded up many child predators that were illegal immigrants, and they were working to punish them, put them through the justice system, and deport them. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But how many of those arrests actually had criminal records? How many of those were proven to have criminal records? How many of those could you show me now that are legitimately criminals? Why are we not speaking out against the people who are unjustly being harmed by ICE? Where are my constitutional loving friends and influencers. Where are my constitutional loving friends and influencers? Why aren't you standing with me? Why are you now becoming the firing squad against those who are saying this isn't right? And not only are we seeing that, but we're being trolled. The United States citizens are being trolled by the federal government. Let's see here just a second. Here is this story. The Department of Homeland Security is starting to annoy both brands and artists with its social media behavior. DHS is attracting complaints from creatives for using their work online, but it insists it's bypassing the mainstream media to give America the facts. It says, from reproductive rights to climate change to big tech, the Department of Homeland Security is facing criticism from brands and artists using their work in memes posted to its social media accounts. Let's go back. I got to watch it. I found this new Reader application which takes out all the ads and the annoying sounds in the background and all the annoying pop-ups and stuff, and I love it. It's on Safari. So I'm using it on the show now. So this is kind of a beta test. I got to learn where I can and cannot click. The Department of Homeland Security is facing criticism from brands and artists for using their work in memes posted to its social media accounts. The DHS maintains a busy presence on X and Instagram, regularly posting mugshots of undocumented immigrants alongside tweets encouraging people to join ICE. The department recently attracted a savage response from the creator of South Park after it repurposed a still from the show satirizing ICE during an episode that mocked the Trump administration and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Before that, the DHS posted a spoof of a commercial for the British low-cost airline Jet2 featuring music from Jess Glynne to draw an allegedly humorous parallel between summer vacations and its mass deportation push. A spokesperson for the company said the parody was not endorsed by us in any way, and we are very disappointed to see our brand being used to promote government policy such as this. Glynn herself said she felt sick when she first learned of the misuse of her song "Hold My Hand," and commented on Instagram that it is about love, unity, and spreading positivity, never about division or hate. The DHS's use of the paintings "Morning Pledge" by Thomas Kincaid and "A Prayer for a New Life" by Morgan Westling has likewise provoked complaints from the Kincaid Family Foundation and the Westling himself, with both parties stating that the use was unauthorized and objecting to the appropriation. We strongly condemn the sentiment expressed in the post and the deplorable actions that DHS continues to carry out, the foundation wrote in a statement on behalf of Kincaid posted to X. Now, Kincaid, for those of you who don't know, he was called the Painter of Light and had a lot of, they're beautiful paintings. And he was a Christian. He died unexpectedly of a heart attack, suddenly of a heart attack. It was tragic. This was about, 15, 20 years ago is when he passed. But regardless, their estate is saying, we don't approve of what you're doing here. People overwhelmingly are not approving. It's not that they are disapproving. And I think this is a very important distinction. It's not that people are disapproving of deporting people who deserve to be reported. All right? Those who deserve to be reported. If we're talking about hardened criminals, drug dealers, smugglers, predators, people who have essayed others, unalive people, and they're here illegally, you come across them, let's get them out first, right? It's not necessarily people are fighting against enforcing the law. It's the way in which the law is enforced. If a person, if a police department decided that it was going to start throwing out nail strips, what do they call those things? Tack strips. If they were going to start deploying tactical gear and shooting out the tires of people who were speeding, and they shoot out a tire because somebody was going over the speed limit and the person lost control, they're smashing into walls, and they're getting unalived in car accidents. If we were to say, hey, stop doing that, you want lawbreakers and speeders out there, you don't care about safety. No, I do care about safety. I do care about people obeying the speed limit. I don't think the measures you're taking are appropriate to the crime being committed. See the difference? You can be for laws that you want to have supported, but you don't have to be inhumane in your carrying out of those laws or of those responsibilities. Responding to the criticism, Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said the Department of Homeland Security. So, responding to the criticism, Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said the Department of Homeland Security is bypassing the mainstream media to give Americans the facts, debunk the lies, and unapologetically celebrate our homeland heritage and the rule of law. We are pleased that the media is highlighting DHS's historic successes in making America safe again. No, what they're doing is they're highlighting how you're punching down, how you're mocking people, how you're dehumanizing people, how you're generating this campaign glorifying the fact that at Christmas time, you want to send people ho, ho, home. And that actually was their campaign. They had a picture. I was trying to pull it up here. They had a picture of an AI-generated picture, nonetheless, of, here we go. Let me pull it up for you. And the thing is, people will laugh about this stuff, and you can make jokes about this, and you can say, ha ha, they're making puns, etc. But here is, let's see if it shows the picture here. Homeland Security launches Christmas-themed deportation campaign, You're Going Ho Ho Home. The post titled, You're Going Ho Ho Home, uses holiday decorations to promote the administration's mass deportation agenda. The Department of Homeland Security pictured immigration law enforcement agents adorned in holiday decorations. Let's go ahead and pull this, hide that, and show the picture here. Here's the picture that they are so proudly displaying. This is what they're proud of right there. It is a picture of the police, and they are happy to be sending people home for the holidays, is what they're indicating here. Where's the forward button? There's two pictures. I can't seem to get to the second one. There it is. Here's the other one. And then, they're decorating this, and they're making it appear as though a light-hearted holiday celebration where they're going to make people go, where they're going to send people home. They're going to deport all them. It says here also that Glenn is not the only musical act that the department has upset. The rock band Black Rebel Motorcycle Club reacted to the department using its cover of God's Gonna Cut You Down by saying, it's obvious that you don't respect copyright law and artists' rights any more than you respect habeas corpus and due process rights, not to mention the separation of church and state per the Constitution. It's actually not in the Constitution, separation of church and state isn't. But it says, but they finish off by saying, go F yourselves. This is the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club saying this to the Department of Homeland Security. What's funny, the estates of Woody Guthrie, Tom Petty have also complained about the use of This Land Is Your Land and won't back down. Such reactions have become a familiar complaint for the Trump administration. Metallica even forced the Pentagon to remove their classic track Enter Sandman from a video featuring Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promoting military drones, saying it was unauthorized. Trump has received a deluge of objections from artists unhappy with his use of their songs to soundtrack his political campaigns. People like Linkin Park, Queen, Neil Young, Foo Fighters, Isaac Hayes, and Jack White. And the White was particularly incensed about the Republicans' use of Seven Nation Army in a social media clip by his then Deputy Director of Communications, Margot Martin, last August, raging on Instagram, "Oh, don't even think about using my music, you fascists. Lawsuit coming from my lawyers about this to add to your 5,000 others. Have a great day at work today, Margot Martin. And as long as I'm here, double F you, Donald, for insulting our nation's veterans at Arlington, you scum. You should lose every military family's vote immediately from that if anything makes sense anymore." And then the rock band Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, they said that the response that they got from the Department of Homeland Security with their cease and desist was very odd. He said that he said he went on to share, "I actually wanted to have a follow-up post about what they wrote us from their supposed legal side." Now, you'll remember I just read what they posted. They said, it's obvious. Now, this is what the Black Motorcycle Club said to the Department of Homeland Security. "It's obvious that you don't respect copyright law and artist rights any more than you respect habeas corpus and due process rights, not to mention the separation of church and state per the Constitution. Go F yourselves." The Department of Homeland Security responded by saying something along the lines of, "Don't bother us with your complaints. You got attention and media from just being associated with us, and so you should be grateful. Don't bother us with your complaints. You got media attention from us Don't bother us with your complaints. You got attention and media from just being associated with us, and so you should be grateful." And this is from the Homeland Legal Department. So the Department of Homeland Security is punching down on people. They're using artists' music, and they don't have permission to do it. They've been called on the carpet. Sabrina Carpenter was one of the recent ones that did this. And it was, they're using people's music, unauthorized usage of music. However, they're all about law and justice. They're all about the rule of law, but they're doing illegal activities. And it's also bad form. You never punch down. So that is sad to see that happening. Now, there's several other things I want to get into on the other side of the break, but I want to touch on this because I'm going to continue to ring this bell. I'm going to hammer on this bell as much as I possibly can. Hey, good morning, Audrey. I don't know how long ago you commented, but thank you so much for joining me. It looks like it's me and you today. But thank you so much, Audrey, for being over there. I am going to, by the way, you can watch us on Vocal, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. All of those are where we are broadcasting the show today. I'm going to keep banging on this bell. I'm going to keep ringing this bell until there's enough people listening, or until even if I just add my voice to the growing number of people that are banging on this bell. I think we all need to know. I want to remind you, this was after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This was Pam Bondi, and I posted this up on my socials, but this was Pam Bondi's response when being asked about hate speech.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech.
I thought hate speech didn't exist. I thought that Charlie Kirk supported hate speech because he was a free speech absolutist. But that was Pam Bondi saying, "We will absolutely come after you." And this week, she is following up on that. Justice Department is drafting a list of what they call domestic terrorists. Justice Department leadership has directed the FBI to compile a list of groups or entities engaged in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism by the start of next year and to establish a cash reward system. Now, this is vital that we understand what's happening. The Attorney General is telling the FBI to compile a list of acts or entities, groups and entities involved in domestic terrorism. And I'm going to quote that again. The Justice Department leadership has directed the FBI to compile a list of groups or entities engaged in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism by the start of next year, and to establish a cash reward system that incentivizes individuals to report on their fellow Americans. The Justice Department wants the FBI to put together a list of entities they think are domestic terrorists, and then they want to incentivize people to turn in their fellow Americans. This is what they did in Nazi Germany. They incentivized people to turn in those that they thought were Jewish, those that they thought were not for Hitler. This is following a pattern. Law enforcement agencies are directed in the memo dated December 4 to identify domestic terrorists who use violence or the threat of violence to advance political and social agendas, including adherence to radical gender ideology, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, or anti-Christianity. Although the memo does not mention protests against President Trump's immigration crackdown directly, it says that problematic political and social agendas could include opposition to law and immigration enforcement, extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders. So now your own political views, your political ideologies are now going to be considered domestic terrorism. This is directly in, and we covered this in detail on a few shows back. And we're going to talk about this more when we get back from the break because it's too important just to gloss over. So keep it locked in right here on the Aaron Barker Show. All right, folks, keep it locked in. I will be back in just a moment. As you know, our friend Mike Lindell
I saw your face last Tuesday inside a magazine. Still, what can't be seen are the secrets that you keep. Your love is
Good morning, folks. Thanks for sticking with me on that break. Again, you are able to listen to the show by going to Vocal, Rumble, Facebook, or YouTube. Any of those shows will be available for any of those places. Would be great for you to watch the show and join us there. We are very excited to have everybody with us. And if I could get this, that's why. There we go. All right. Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, D Live, and Vocal, all of those places you can join us and hang out, submit your comments, and we will talk about those. I want to dive right into this because we still have a lot of stuff I want to get to today. And what we ended up with talking about on the at the end of last hour was this story here that I want to reiterate. Justice Department is drafting a list of domestic terrorists, and this is extremely important, and we have to pay attention to this. Justice Department leadership has directed the FBI to compile a list of groups or entities engaged in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism by the start of next year, and to establish a cash reward system that incentivizes individuals to report on their fellow Americans, according to a memo reviewed by the Times. So your law enforcement agencies, your government agencies that are you so vehemently supporting, the entities you are so vehemently lauding because they are getting rid of illegal immigrants, you are going to be targeted. They are coming after everyone. There are multiple things that it says here. Domestic terrorists who use violence or the threat of violence to advance political and social agendas, including adherence to radical gender ideology, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, or anti-Christianity. Although the memo does not mention protest against President Trump's immigration crackdown, it says the problematic political and social agendas could include opposition to law and immigration enforcement, extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders. So opposition to law and immigration enforcement. Now, this is echoing what the Countering Domestic Terrorism and Political Violence said, okay? And just to make sure that you saw that, it doesn't mention the memo does not mention protests against President Trump's immigration crackdown directly. It says that problematic political and social agendas could include opposition to law and immigration enforcement, extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders. So, Ruby Ridge, Waco, can't oppose that. You can't oppose the use of those organizations. You can't oppose law enforcement that way. You can't oppose law enforcement breaking your constitutional rights so that they can put somebody behind bars or close a case. You can't protest against being told by a police officer you can't film them when you're allowed to. You can't protest against a cop arresting you because you ask for their badge number or their ID. You can't protest if a cop tells you that you're too close to an abortion mill and you can't pray even silently out there. You can't protest if you're a Christian and you're carrying a cross in opposition to a political ideology that may make somebody angry. And you can't oppose being arrested by carrying that cross, and you can't oppose being arrested waiting in a legal parking place to help that person when they get done carrying that cross. You can't oppose no-knock warrants when police officers bust into an apartment in the middle of the night, the wrong one, and unalive a person. You can't protest against the inhumane use of law enforcement against protesters. So the lawsuit that awarded millions of dollars to the BLM protesters in Cincinnati, the city of Cincinnati has to pay millions of dollars to protesters that were unjustly arrested with a violation against their rights for just protesting. they're being given millions. You're not allowed to do that. You can't protest against your government anymore, because if the law enforcement says you have to shut up and you have to sit down and you can't say anything about what we're doing because you are interfering with operations and official government proceedings, well, then you can't argue with that. That's what this political ideology is talking about here. Political and social agendas could include opposition to law and immigration enforcement. So you put up a nativity scene, and that nativity scene at your church is in opposition to or is an artistic expression of what is actually going on in the world. It is a protest against what our government is doing. You can't do that because that expresses extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders. You're opposing what law enforcement is doing. You're opposing the immigration services. This is where this is going. Now, don't think so laterally on this as well. Go with me on this, because the government, and already people are doing this. Don't think laterally about this. Don't think it's only going to be used against people that have or are endangering the citizenry around them or the country. This is going to be targeted against political opposition of any president in power if this is allowed to continue. Where is Arctic frost? Where are people throwing a fit about the fact that the government is compiling a list of organizations? Arctic frost was bad because it was done against Republican senators. It was done against Republican Congress people. Oh, we can't have Arctic frost because it targeted TPUSA and Charlie Kirk's a martyr. Do you think they're going to stop at Charlie Kirk? Do you think they're going to stop at TPUSA? Do you think they're going to stop at Republicans? When this gets flipped, when they flip the script, and they're already saying it, some of the crazy leftists out there are already saying, just wait till we get in power. We're going to come after you. Whoa, man, we gotta hit the brakes on this. It's just going to turn into a vengeance back and forth until ultimately it leads to a conflict that is going to be detrimental to the future of our country. The memo sent by Attorney General Pam Bondi to federal prosecutors and law enforcement agencies follows on a presidential memorandum signed by Trump in the immediate aftermath of the killing of Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative figure, that gave civil rights groups pause over the potential targeting of political activists, donors, and nonprofits opposed to the president. The memo outlines what it says are causes of domestic terrorist activity, including hostility towards traditional views on family, religion, and morality. Federal law enforcement will prioritize this threat. Where federal crime is encountered, federal agents will act, the memo states. Some national security experts say the memo represents a dramatic operational shift by directing federal prosecutors and agents to approach domestic terrorism in a way that is ideologically one-sided. At worst, critics said, the memo provides legal justification for criminalizing free speech. And it's not just me, see? I'm not the only one saying that. Some national security experts said the memo represents a dramatic operational shift by directing federal prosecutors and agents to approach domestic terrorism in a way that's ideologically one-sided. At worst, critics said the memo provides legal justification for criminalizing free speech. Who's to determine all of these anti up here? Who's to determine what radical gender ideology is? Who determines what anti-Americanism is? Who determines what anti-capitalism is? Who determines what anti-Christianity is? Kirk Cameron, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. Kirk Cameron now no longer believes in eternal conscious torment. He does not believe hell is eternal. He believes that in annihilationism. Is that against Christianity? Because there are already leaders. Ray Comfort has come out. Ken Ham has made statements, and all kinds of people trying to grift and grab a hold of their time, their 15 minutes of fame, by bashing Kirk Cameron for his theological evolution. There are already people who are saying he's a heretic. There are already people saying he's going to burn in the hell that he doesn't believe in. There are already people that are saying that he's left the faith, he's outside the faith, he's strayed outside the faith, he's no longer Christian. So teaching that hell is not eternal, that you die, you're annihilated, teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti-Christian to some of those people. Teaching that is anti- Who are the people? Who are the people that are going to be telling? Who are the people that are going to be determining the anti in all of these? Who determines anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity? Who determines that? And that is something we have to think about. That we can't think so laterally or so unilaterally. We can't think so one-dimensional. For all these people that talk about Trump's playing 35D chess, you all can't even think outside of one dimension. He is not the king. His children and his progeny are not going to be the leaders of this nation. It's going to change hands. And unfortunately, when it does, those people that are in power then are going to use this to their advantage as well, and they're going to attack their political enemies. Now, the people who break the law, the people who are actually war criminals and breaking and violating the Constitution, yes, I hope those people have their day. I hope those people are brought to justice. Let's see. What else does it say here? It says here that I think this causes a chilling impact because it definitely seems to be directing enforcement toward particular points of view, Mary McCord, a former acting assistant attorney general for national security, said in an interview. The memo, for example, primarily focuses on Antifa-aligned extremism, but omits other trends that in recent years have been identified as rising domestic threats, such as violent white supremacy. And here it comes. Since Trump resumed office, the FBI has cut its office designated to focus on domestic extremism, withdrawing resources from investigations into white supremacists and right-wing anti-government groups. See, this is an ideological move by Trump. This is directed at the enemies of what they think is right and not at the enemies of who is violating rights. See, the difference is if you go after Antifa, if you declare Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, but you reduce resources and you cut funding and you remove focus on white supremacy and right-wing anti-government groups, you're showing that this is not because you want to keep people safe. This is showing that you want to insulate an ideology and destroy all the others. That's the danger. No, it's not just the danger, it's one of the dangers. That's one of the dangers. See, Trump is not as smart as you think he is. He is an easily manipulatable authoritarian that wants only to have his A+++++ ego stroked. That's all. So anybody that tells him, you do this and people are going to love you, you're going to get the accolades, they're going to think you're great. So he does it. He is not, there is so much ire being thrown at Trump, and he is a narcissistic authoritarian douchebag. What about the people behind him that are pushing these ideologies? See, we were supposed to drain the swamp. There was no deep swamp there was no deep state swamp that was drained. We were promised, but we were just given more deep state rats. We were promised that the swamp would be drained, but we were just given more deep state swamp rats in its place. The memo, okay, so now just remember that. This is an ideological move. This is an ideological attack. This is not something to keep America straight or keep America safe. This is an ideological attack. The memo's push to collect intelligence on Antifa through internal lists and public tip lines. The memo's push to collect intelligence on Antifa through internal lists and public tip lines also raised questions over the scope of the internal lists and public tip lines also raised questions over the scope of the investigation mission and how wide a net investigators might cast. Whether you're going to a protest, whether you're considering a piece of legislation, whether you're considering undertaking a particular business activity, the ambiguity will affect your risk profile. Thomas Brzezowski, a former counsel for domestic terrorism at the Justice Department, said in an interview, "It is the unknown that people will fear," he added. Groups such as the American Civil Liberties Union have expressed alarm over the new policy, which could be used by the Justice Department to target civil society groups and democratic individuals and entities with burdensome investigations. But the White House argues that Democratic appointees under Biden administration targeted conservative extremists in similar ways. Who cares? Honestly, I mean, who cares if the Biden administration did this? If they did, go after the people who did. Fix that problem. Send the Attorney General after them so that they are punished for the crimes that they committed against Americans. Send the Attorney General after them. Don't do the same thing they did to them. That there is no justification for you to say, well, they did it to us, so we're going to do it to them. That is in no way what Jesus taught us to do. All the people who say that Donald Trump is the Christian president, and there are Christians who voted for him, and they're so proud about all of this, Jesus didn't say, do unto others as they've done to you. The golden rule is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you don't want your rights taken away, if you don't want your freedoms taken away, if you want the ability to live in a free country, don't take away other people's freedoms and rights. This is not a justification. And this will be used against you when the other side gets in power. They will say, oh, the shoe's on the other foot now, and they'll just do the same thing. This is not being done justly. This is not being done to protect America. This is being done to stop political ideologies that people within the Trump administration, and unfortunately millions of others, tens of millions of other Americans, think for some reason is okay to do. People are allowed to think that we can have open borders. People are allowed to not believe in God. People are allowed to have anti-Christian sentiment. People are allowed to have anti-law enforcement ideas. People are allowed to not support law enforcement. They are allowed. Their ideas, them doing this, in no way reduces their love of their country. It no way reduces their freedoms or their rights or their abilities to exist in this country. They have the right to have those differing ideologies and opinions. They have a right to not believe in hell, to not believe in Jesus. They have a right to be a Muslim or to be a Buddhist or to be nothing at all. Stop trying to control people with laws. Stop trying to control people's moral ideology with laws. They're throwing in anti-Christianity. I wish they would just remove that. What about the separation of church and state? Just stop trying to act like this is. See, they throw that and they throw that Christianity on there. They'll throw, we want to make sure people aren't anti-Christian. No, you want to garner the support of a small minority of. You want to garner the support of a group of people that have a small-minded understanding of the Bible and then manipulate them to do your bidding. Because I know pastors that would report a person that was in their congregation who is an undocumented immigrant. I know pastors who would turn them away if they needed help. I know pastors who would support them being separated from their families. I know them. I know pastors who would do that. And I should say, pastors. We could call them impastors because they're just imposter pastors. Pastor imposters. They tack on Christianity on there to manipulate that group of people who have a small-minded understanding of Scripture. That's the only reason they're doing this. Because anti-Christian, define it. Define anti-Catholic, anti-Mormon, anti-Lutheran, anti-Pentecostal, anti-Baptist, North American, Southern, Western, First, Second, Fifth, Presbyterianism, Presbyterian Church of the United States, or PCUSA, PCA, RPCUSA. Which one are you going to say is the standard? Which one? Members of the Trump's team have embraced political retribution. Members of Trump's team have embraced political retribution as a policy course. Ed Martin, the president of Pardon Attorney, has openly advocated for Justice Department investigations that would burden who Trump perceives as his enemies alongside leniency for his friends and family. Alongside leniency for his friends and allies. No MAGA left behind, Martin wrote on social media in May. No MAGA left behind. Law enforcement agencies are directed in the memo to zealously investigate those involved in what it calls potential domestic terrorist actions, including doxing law enforcement. So it's wrong for them to dox law enforcement. I just want to make sure I get this clear. It's wrong for people to dox law enforcement, but it's okay for Laura Loomer to dox LGBTQ employees or those who are allies of the LGBTQ community that are government employees so that they get fired. Tell me this isn't about ideology without telling me this isn't about ideology. Or is it the other way? Tell me this is about ideology without telling me this is about ideology. They only want to persecute political enemies. They only want to persecute anti-MAGA people. They only want to persecute who Trump and his swamp rats behind him think are non-American. It's disgusting. It's despicable. Authorities are also directed to map the full network of culpable actors potentially tied to crime. Domestic terrorism is not an official designation in U.S. law, but the directive cites over 24 existing laws that could substantiate charges against domestic terrorists and their supporters, such as conspiracy to injure an officer, seditious conspiracy, and mail and wire fraud. These are what we were talking about earlier. These are like modifiers, amplifiers onto crimes. Only in a footnote of the memo does the Justice Department acknowledge that the U.S. government cannot, quote, investigate, collect, or maintain information on U.S. persons solely for the purpose of monitoring activities protected by the First Amendment. Well, thanks for adding that on. Thanks for actually acknowledging, give a little hat tip to the Constitution. Thanks for including the Bill of Rights. Oh, by the way, I want the list, but we're actually not allowed to keep the land. I want you to put it together. I don't want to have it, but I can't keep it. We can't really monitor people. We're just playing. Bull. No investigation may be opened based solely on activities protected by the First Amendment or the lawful exercise of rights secured by the Constitution or laws of the United States. The footnote says the Constitution. The Constitution is a footnote. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a footnote. Thanks. Thanks for thinking about us. Some tension could arise when citizens report what they believe to be suspected domestic terrorism to the FBI. Really? You mean like the videos? Like you've seen the videos. And this is another thing. They're saying they're going to incentivize people for turning in those whom they think are domestic terrorists or engaged in domestic terrorist activities. We already see crazy Karens that are calling the police because their Uber drivers or DoorDash drivers are foreign, because they speak a different language, because they're Hispanic, U.S. citizens, but they're calling the authorities. Could you imagine the Karens and the Bubbas that are going to be calling because they don't like that they're Uber Java? Can you imagine the Karens and the Bubbas who are going to be calling because they don't like the fact that their UPS guy or their mailman or their DoorDash delivery person is of Hispanic descent or an ethnicity that is not white? Can you believe the amount of phone calls? But, good thing they can't compile the list because of Bill of Rights and such. The memo directs the FBI online tip line to allow witnesses and citizen journalists to report videos, recordings, and photos of what they believe to be suspected acts of domestic violence and establish a cash reward system for information that leads to an arrest. People will inform because they want to get paid, Brzezowski says. He added that some information could end up being unreliable and likely related to other Americans exercising their constitutional rights. State and local law enforcement agencies that adhere to the Justice Department directive will be prioritized for federal grant funding. One of the directives in the memo would require the FBI to disseminate an intelligence bulletin on Antifa and Antifa-aligned anarchist violent extremist groups early next year. The bulletin should describe the relevant organization structures, funding sources, and tactics so that law enforcement partners can effectively investigate and policymakers can effectively understand the nature and gravity of the threat posed by these extremist groups. The mission will cross several agencies, with the FBI working alongside Joint Terrorism Task Forces nationwide, as well as the Counterterrorism Division and the National Threat Operations, etc. So, yeah, why not? It's a great idea, right? You tell your citizenry to target their fellow Americans for exercising their constitutional rights. And we are also going to pay you for it. That goes right along with this. U.S. travel group, foreign tourists leery of Trump plan to vet social media. Now, a U.S. Travel Association top Democrat and would-be travelers from Europe and Australia are bristling at President Donald Trump's new plan to require many foreign visitors using the visa waiver program to provide social media handles used over the past 5 years. It's going to take place on February 8th. They're going to require. The Trump administration has taken a range of steps to tighten vetting of foreigners entering the U.S. The requirement for additional information stemmed from a Trump executive order issued on January 20th, calling for visitors of the U.S. to be vetted and screened to the maximum degree, according to the notice. The visa waiver program allows travelers from 42 countries. It says the U.S. would require all email addresses used over the last 10 years and names, birth dates, residences, and birthplaces of parents, siblings, children, and spouses, the notice said, which is open for public comment for 60 days. The U.S., along with Canada and Mexico, will host soccer's World Cup in 2026 and is expected to draw tourists from around the world. Eric Hansen, head of the Government Relations for U.S. Travel Association, said the group proposed changes and working with the administration. If we fail to deliver an efficient, secure, and modern vetting process, international visitors will choose other destinations. If you require these people to show you 10 years of names, birth dates, residences, and birthplaces, parents, siblings, children, and spouses, you're not going to have visitors that want to come here at all, which, maybe that's also what they're trying to do. Gee, maybe so. As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of our lives. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow, though. Mike created the Giza Dream Bed Sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza Sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. The first night you sleep on these Giza Sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else. Giza Dream Sheets come in a variety variety of sizes and colors. Go to mypillow.com. There you'll find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets, and so much more. Call 800-892-6955 and use the promo code Barker. That's 800-892-6955 and use the promo code Barker. Or go to mypillow.com and make sure you use the promo code Barker. Your best night's sleep is just a few clicks away.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Give up, there's no tomorrow. Your kind must learn to fall in line and face your crimes. You think you're something special, deprived of your potential.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks for staying with us. This is Aaron Barker. We are live on Vocal. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Rumble. And we are live on DLive. All of those places are where you can go to listen to the show. And we are grateful. We're growing. Or we. I'm just saying we. I'm used to saying we, but the show is growing. The reach is growing, and hopefully we reach more people, and we're able to spread a little love and kindness, especially this time of year. Huh? Yeah. Little Christmas display back here. I got my Santa hat over here. I haven't worn it yet. I didn't know if I should wear this or not. Maybe next week. Maybe I'll wear my Santa hat. Maybe we'll wear my Santa hat next week. Our Christmas topper is a Santa hat, actually. Yeah, people were outraged when they heard about that, by the way. They were outraged. They thought that it was terrible that we had a Santa hat and not an angel. But when we asked what the rating of our Christmas tree was, we got
A plus 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 plus.
I mean, there's no other endorsement that we need outside of that. When somebody tells you that you get
A plus 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 plus
on your Christmas tree, I mean, Mr. President, how would you rate the show today and my Santa hat?
A plus 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 plus.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that very much. I think I'm going to go ahead. Since I'm talking about this, I have... Is this the one I want? No, that's not the one I want. That was I think I've got that. Where did it go? There it is. It's been gone for the majority of the show. I've accidentally turned that off. Okay, so here, let's jump into this. So, put that down over there. Game's over. Then fix my hair again, print it proper, everything like that. All right, let's jump into this because, for some reason, let me just get into this story. I'll start out with this story here. Cis students. Now, cis students are those students who identify with the sex that they were born with. Cis students were suspended for calling trans kid a girl boy. Now, Trump's DOJ is defending them. This is from Them magazine. The U.S. Department of Justice is throwing its weight behind a lawsuit against a Virginia school district in which 2 students claim school officials violated their religious freedom by suspending them for allegedly harassing a transgender schoolmate. The most important LGBTQ, 2 Christian students at Loudoun County Public Schools filed suit against the district in September after they were reportedly suspended for sexually harassing a trans boy who uses boys' locker rooms and bathrooms at school. DOJ officials filed a motion to intervene in the students' lawsuit on Monday, claiming that LCPS school board violated the 14th Amendment by suspending the students and by enforcing trans-inclusive school policies against them. The students are represented by America First Legal, the far-right law firm founded by the white nationalist and Trump administration official Stephen Miller. Loudoun County's decision to advance and promote gender ideology tramples on the rights of religious students who cannot embrace ideas that deny biological reality. Hold for me, please. Sorry about that. I had to take care of something real quick. Excuse me. All right. Loudoun County's decision to advance and promote gender ideology tramples on the rights of religious students who cannot embrace ideas that deny biological reality. Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Human Rights, OCR, Harmeet K. Dillon claimed in a press release Monday. Dillon was tapped for the OCR position last December after previously working as a legal advisor to President Donald Trump and representing detransitioner activist Chloe Cole in her lawsuit against healthcare provider Kaiser Permanente. Sorry, I'm catching my breath. Had to run up the stairs real quick. Where's that one? Hold on. There we go. That one was missing too. There we go. So, in a supporting memo, the DOJ alleged that LCPS violated the cisgender students' rights by requiring them to use trans students' pronouns and respect his presence in boys' facilities. Those requirements go against their sincere religious beliefs and practice, which require using sex-aligned pronouns and using sex-segregated intimate spaces, the memo claims. That is... Okay, so the students' families say their children only made comments expressing that they were uncomfortable sharing a bathroom with the trans student, and their lawsuit claims that a Muslim student who expressed similar sentiments was not suspended. But in an October response, district officials said that the cis student had actually engaged in relentless harassment of the trans student throughout the 2024-25 academic year, with one of the plaintiffs allegedly yelling "girl boy" at him repeatedly in a school hallway. The trans student made audio recordings of the harassment and filed a Title X discrimination and filed a Title IX discrimination claim of his own in March of this year, which LCPS was obligated to investigate, leading to the suspensions. LCPS was one of 5 Virginia schools labeled high risk by the Department of Education in August, citing district policy that allowed trans students to use facilities that align with their gender. In September, one day after the students first sued LCPS, the DOE concluded that LCPS failed to treat the male students equitably. This isn't the first time conservatives have targeted LCPS and its trans-inclusive policies. In 2021, right-wing media blamed the then newly adopted policies for an alleged sexual assault that occurred in a school bathroom, even though the assault reportedly occurred months before the policies were put in place. So, this is, oh goodness. Sorry about that. There we go. So one thing I wanted to put on here. These is obviously is on recording. I haven't heard the recordings myself. I'm going by this information. The DOJ has stepped in and they're using this information. I understand that there are a lot of people. I understand a lot of people are still uncomfortable with and trying to figure this whole process out, and I am too. I don't know all the answers to the transgender question or issue or transgender students. I don't understand all of that. I do understand that they're human beings. I do understand that they're not less than us or less than someone who knows or who is comfortable with who they are. I'm not saying in any way that they are less. They are just as human as we are. They are just as deserving of love and grace and mercy as anybody is. They are a human being created in the image of God. They deserve that respect. I don't understand how a Christian can treat somebody so horribly. Actually, I can. I can understand that because I was that way. I can't understand it. I mean, in all honesty, I taught it. I thought it. Should reverse that. I thought it. I taught it. I acted it out. So I understand when you think that what you are doing is for God, you'll do anything. And most people believe that what they're doing is right. Or if a person believes what they're doing is right, they'll do anything. They'll say anything, they'll do anything because they believe that it's a means to an end. The ends justify the means. So they will do those things. They will say those things. They will act out. They will live a life in accordance with their beliefs. So I understand. I got to a point in my Christian life where I was doing a whole lot of studying on my own and reading on my own and theological development and such. Not as deep as I look back and wish it would have been, but I did a lot of. It was wide. My theological understanding was wide. As far as deep, and when I think deep, I'm talking about original languages and things like scholarly work. It wasn't deep. It was wide in that I read a wide variety of things. But I was convinced that my positions on things were absolutely correct. And if they were absolutely correct, anyone who stood in the way or disagreed with me got run over by a freight train. And I was not afraid to have arguments. I was not afraid to damage relationships. I look back now and I'm trying to repair some of those relationships I've damaged and fix my reputation that was hopefully not irreparably harmed, but was harmed and damaged. And I'm trying to fix that. But I digress. When you think you're doing something for God, when you think that your treatment of transgender or people of color or people of a different ethnicity or people of another legal status, if you think that your treatment of them is okay because God, you have this image of Jesus standing behind you, patting you on the back and saying, "Go for it, son. then you'll treat people this way. You'll harass kids as they walk through the hallway. You'll use disparaging comments. You'll say horrible things to them. And one of those, just another example of this. So one of the things that bothers me so much about this story, one of the things that is so disturbing about this story, is out of the first line here, when it says, the Department of Justice is throwing its weight behind a lawsuit against a Virginia school district in which 2 students claim officials violated their religious freedom by suspending them for allegedly harassing a transgender classmate. So you are equating harassment, name-calling, bullying, dehumanizing with your religious freedom? You're doing it wrong. You're absolutely doing it wrong. You are not glorifying God. You are not glorifying Christ by harassing people with names like this. Here is just, and if you think, well, that's just a story that doesn't, that's just some random story. This is, and I've actually talked about this guy before. This is Joel Webbin. This is from LGBTQnation.com. Hate preacher demands Christians start calling gay men the F word. He says using slurs is okay because gay men want to force Christians into the closet. Anti-LGBTQ plus hate pastor Joel Webbin has a message for Christians. Use more slurs when talking about gay men. So it's okay now. So the previous story was kids saying, and the Department of Justice throwing their weight behind kids saying harassing comments and that being religious discrimination. And now we have Joel Webbin, a pastor, who is actually saying, use these disparaging comments and slurs and remarks towards people. Go ahead. Use them sparingly, but use them. Webbin, who founded Webbin, who founded Right Response Ministries and is the senior pastor of the Covenant Bible Church in Austin, Texas, has a history of extreme statements, including a claim that 17% of gay men eat feces, that women shouldn't have the right to vote, and that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is in hell. Well, not according to Kirk Cameron, which we've got to get to. Homosexuality is degenerate. This is what Joel Webbin says. Webbin said, said this week in an episode of his podcast, in a video captured by Right Wing Watch, he said, it is bad for the populace. It is bad for society. It's been incredibly harmful. We've seen full court press against our children as a sacrificial lamb in order to appease older gay men and make them feel better about themselves. It's wicked. It's predatory. He continued, drawing on the old, false, negative stereotype that LGBTQ plus people are a threat to children. And I think it's appropriate for us to call it what it is and say, wait a second, this is perverse. It's wicked. It's blank. It needs to stop. Yes, you can use that word on occasion, as I just did, to say, no, we're not going to tolerate blank with our children. Cut it out. Stop it. Say Christ is Lord. Stop it. And people are laughing as he's saying this and as he's doing the video. He said he specified he didn't want to use that word so much that it gets trivialized, but I don't think it's a sin to say in its proper context, the F word in its proper context. I think you could be a Christian who fears the Lord and say enough is enough. Webbin then brought up a social media video from 4 years ago from the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus where they joked they're going to convert your children. He said, you've got the San Francisco Gay Choir a couple years ago writing songs, and it was no joke. We'll convert your children. Webbin said, no, stop it. F words. No, you will not convert my children. You are degenerates, you're predators, and you're evil. In the name of Jesus Christ, stop it, back into the shadows. If that worked, by the way. Oh, here. If the whole rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ worked, wouldn't all this just stop? I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. He said every society will have a closet, and there will either be Christian children hiding in that closet with their parents ostracized from society, or you will have sexual degenerates in that closet. He said, so yes, call me a radical, but I think the sexual degenerates are the members of society that should be in the closet, not Christian families and their children. And here is, I guess let me just go ahead and play the video here, I guess. It's a multimedia show. See what we can get. And it does have a disclaimer here. This video may include disinformation or dehumanizing and discriminatory rhetoric. Right Wing Watch exposes bigotry and extremism to disrupt authoritarian political and forces and defend democracy. rightwingwatch.org.
Homosexuality is degenerate. It is bad for the populace. It's bad for society. It's been incredibly harmful. We've seen a full court press against our own children as the sacrificial lamb in order to appease older gay men and make them feel better about themselves.
I'm going to do something real quick while this is on. This over here. Okay.
It's wicked, it's predatory, and I think, it is appropriate for us to be able to call it what it is and say, wait a second, this is perverse, it's wicked, it's fatty, and it needs to stop. I think that that's okay. Yes, you can use that word on occasion, as I just did, to say, no, we're not going to tolerate tree with our children. Cut it out. Stop it. Say Christ is Lord. Stop it. I do think that we can use some strong language. But I don't want it to become so common that it's just, it's a constant flippant, I don't want the trivializing of language, but strong language, when you use it and you mean it, and it's on occasion. I don't think that it's a sin to say in its proper context. I think you can be a Christian who fears the Lord and say enough is enough.
All right, so that is what Joel Webbin had to say there regarding this this topic, and so this is and you just listen to how he just sat there. I'm not going to play it again. You can look at how he just sat there, and he was very reasonable. He didn't raise his voice. He wasn't getting exercised. He wasn't mad. He was just simply saying, I believe that these slurs are okay. They're not a sin to use these slurs, and you can use them in moderation, just as long as you don't trivialize these slurs. Well, what other slurs can we use? What other words are okay for us to use? Because this is one of those overall situations where I believe it's extremely important for us to point out to ourselves and to other Christians some vital passages of Scripture which are necessary and important. Now, I get accused a lot on social media of when I call this out. I'm sure when I post this up later on social media, when I have this reel out there, people are probably going to start calling me that word. I've been called that word. I've been called the R word. I've been called fat, been called stupid. I've been told that they want to rid the country of people like me. I've been told I'm not Christian. I'm a devil. I'm a liar. I'm going to hell. I've been told all of this stuff. And when I look at this, the overwhelming majority of people who are using that language are Christians, or they claim to be Christians. Some even claim to be pastors. And when you call them out on that by saying you're a pastor and you're using this language and this rhetoric, they become enraged, right? They become very upset, and they get very they are very enraged by your daring to bring that up. So, but I'm accused a lot, and I just to make sure that we do this from a perspective that shows that it's not just some random guy on the internet that is making stuff up and wanting people to be nice. You're trying to control our free speech. You're trying to take away our speech. You don't care about the Constitution. It's the exact opposite. I do care about the Constitution. The one thing that trumps the Constitution, anybody out there? Anybody? The one thing that trumps the Constitution, Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, as best as we can extrapolate them from the Bible, the New Testament. As best as we can extrapolate them, the only thing that supersedes the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is the only thing that supersedes the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are the teachings of Jesus Christ, as best as we can extrapolate them from the New Testament. So if I tell you that Trump using the R word is not only offensive, but degrading and dehumanizing, and pastors saying that it's okay for you to use the F word, the pejorative towards homosexuals, and using those slurs towards them is also dehumanizing. When I say that those pastors are, what is the last statement I just made there? Anyway, when I say that Trump calling people the R word is dehumanizing, when I say that pastors telling you it's okay to use these slurs is dehumanizing, you take that as my opinion. You take that as me trying to control your speech. I'm not trying to control your speech. As mentioned, I'm a free speech absolutist. When you stand, however, and claim to be a Christian, you then put yourself under the authority of what Jesus' teachings are. Okay? And I've got a couple passages of scripture, and I know as going in here that I believe some scholars believe that Paul was not the author of Colossians. Just checking something real quick. Just want to make sure that. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge here. First, the traditional authorship of Ephesians and Colossians is attributed to Paul. Some modern critical scholars doubt that he wrote Ephesians and don't believe that he wrote Colossians. Even though I'm going to use two passages of scripture from those books, I am using them because these teachings are pretty common as far as being Christ adjacent. And then I'm going to go back to Jesus and then go back to another scripture in Colossians. So I bring that up because I know some people out there are going to doubt the authorship of these two books, especially since it's Paul and there's a lot of modern doubt written about Paul. However, if you are one of the people who think that using the R word and the F word and the different slurs for people is okay, if you think that it's religious persecution when two boys are suspended from school because they harass a trans boy, then you're probably not going to be thinking very deeply into who wrote Ephesians and Colossians. Okay, here, hold on just a second. I'm going to stop this. There's no reason for me to go through all that stuff because I'm just going to keep going here. I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to cover this because I think it's very important. Then I'm going to talk about Kirk Cameron. I should have just talked about that today. It should have been all I talked about. But if you're one of the people who think that using the R word is okay, or calling homosexuals the F word, or that two boys that were suspended for harassing continually a trans boy is okay and it is a violation of their religious freedom, then you are more than likely one of the folks who would sit under a sermon of Ephesians and Colossians and listen to what the pastor was saying about this. So I want to point out these two parallel passages from Ephesians and Colossians. The first one is in Ephesians chapter 4. It says here in Ephesians 4:29, "Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is good for building up, as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear." Your words may give grace to those who hear. "And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with which you were marked with a seal for the day of redemption. Put away from you all bitterness and wrath and anger and wrangling and slander, together with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ Jesus has forgiven you." Is it kind, tender-hearted, gracious? Is it putting away bitterness and wrath and anger and slander when you call somebody the R word, or an LGBTQ kid the F word, or when you mock or harass? because of that. In Colossians, this is the parallel passage in Colossians. All right, so here is the parallel passage in Colossians. Colossians says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer everyone." Is using the R word against people, using the F word when the LGBTQ community, mocking and harassing an LGBT student, are those gracious words? Are they seasoned with salt? Are they giving grace? Are they helping to give an answer of your Christian faith to everyone? Now, for those of you who doubt that those are written, but for those of you who think, well, that's Paul. Here's Jesus. Either make a tree good and its fruit good, or make the tree bad and its fruit bad. For the tree is known by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you speak good things when you are evil? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The good person brings good things out of a good treasure, and the evil person brings evil things out of an evil treasure. I tell you, on the day of judgment, you will have to give an account for every careless word you utter. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. That's Jesus. And this brood of vipers, that brood of vipers, he wasn't talking to the LGBTQ community. He wasn't talking to undocumented immigrants. No. He wasn't talking to the people on Snap. He wasn't talking to anybody except for the religious elite. In that instance right there. Your idle words against LGBTQ, your idle words against the LGBTQ community, your idle words that you speak in anger and maliciousness and attacking others, those are going to be used against you, and those will condemn you. This is Jesus Christ. Why when someone points out, why is it, and I ask this sincerely, why is it when someone points out the way that Donald Trump treats people and talks to folks, that person is considered un-American. They're considered un-Christian. They're considered a liar, or they're mocked for their appearance. Yet we have Jesus and the words of Scripture saying, don't talk to people like that. Why the defense for Trump and his horrible treatment of others, and no defense for Jesus Christ and his wide open, forgiving, loving arms that accept everyone? One more passage here. I would love to I should have just done a show all on this. I would love to do that. If you would, just drop a yes or no in the comments. Let me know what you think. This is also in Colossians chapter 3. Therefore, as God's chosen ones, those are you Christians on either side of the aisle, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, doesn't matter. You Christians, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Teach and admonish one another in all wisdom, and with gratitude in your heart, sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to God. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Modern Christians would say, whatever you do in word or deed, in everything, in the name of the Donaldus Trumpus, giving thanks to God the Father through Donaldus Trumpus. It's not the way it works. This isn't encouraging people not to dehumanize others with language is not trying to take away their free speech. It's trying to encourage people to not dehumanize and degrade other human beings whom God has created in his own image and Jesus died for. I mean, it's really that simple. You know, really that easy and that simple. All right, before I'm gonna get here to this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this one. This is Mr. Where'd it go? Oh no, here it is. So one of the great things I thought about this, I had a lot of great things. Hold a second here. Oh yeah, my wife just messaged me. Oh, let's see, what is it? Pull this up real quick. Peter Green died. I heard that today. And he was Adrian in The Mask, if you remember The Mask. Where do I go for my life? There you go. No, not that. How do I get back to my... Sorry. I'm going to figure out how to... I clicked out of my live. So I'm going to have to figure out how I'm supposed to go live. Or stop myself. There it is right there. View post. Okay. There we go. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Yeah, so Peter Green, character actor known for the role as iconic villain in Pulp Fiction, has died. He died in his home in New York. His manager, Greg Edwards, confirmed on Friday his cause of death was not immediately released. They said here that he was a terrific guy. He was actually found unresponsive with a bloody face, is what I've heard. Let me see. Oh. When Green died, he was working on 2 projects, including a documentary about the federal government's withdrawal of funding from the U.S. Agency for International Development, according to Edwards. Wow. Edwards was his manager. Let me throw this up here real quick so y'all can see it. Y'all put a face to the name. If it'll let me do this, let's see. I have to pull up a picture. So Peter Green. Images. You'll recognize him as soon as you see his face. Let me see if I can get it up here real quick. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wrong one. Man alive, dude. Why can't you just find the picture? There it is right there. That's what he looks like. Peter Green. Oh, that's why I couldn't do it. Because I was in the wrong place. So, actor Peter Green. There we go. Peter Green, actor known for a role as iconic villain in Pulp Fiction, has died in his home in New York City. His manager, Greg Edwards, confirmed on Friday his cause of death was not immediately released. I did see that he was found unresponsive with a bloody face, and they said that he was working on 2 projects when he died, including a documentary for the federal government's withdrawal of funding from the U.S. agency. Green was working on 2 projects when he died, including a documentary on the federal government's withdrawal from funding from the U.S. Agency for International Development, according to Edwards. That's very interesting that that's what he was working on when he passed away. All right. That's very sad. Very sad. He always had that kind of villain-looking face, I thought. Okay, let's get to Kirk Cameron. I want to get to this here. I thought that this whole format of Kirk Cameron's show, that's the first time I've watched his actual show. And it's all because of this particular controversy that has been brewing because of his statements. But what I liked about it was he's on with his son, and just like a conversation almost. And his son brings up some things that he wants to talk about, and then they discuss them. And throughout the video, which I would love to do a deep dive into this video. Maybe I'll just do a special episode, and we'll just do a deep dive into this video. Here is what Kirk Cameron had to say. They were talking about hell in general. Let's get to some of the highlights here of what was said.
What you're actually saying is that if you are a sinner and you don't give your life to Christ, you go to hell, and you are in agony, tortured, screaming, crying, in pain,
weeping, wailing,
on fire. Not just for 100 years, not just for 1,000 years, but for all of eternity. For literally, we can't even imagine how vast eternity is.
After 10,000 years of anguish and pain and torment and darkness, you're not one day closer to finding relief.
You're not even 1 second closer.
After 1 billion years, you're not 1 second closer to the end.
Yeah, and I think that
I can't even wrap my mind around it, honestly.
I know.
It's such a massive, overwhelming thought that my mind cannot contain it any more than this cup can contain the ocean. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
So of course that this is where I think I kind of went at it a different way, but a lot of people go into deconstruction this way. They ask these kind of questions. So you're telling me that a person that doesn't get this right, that they're going to spend eternity in hell, in burning and pain, anguish, darkness, weeping and gnashing of teeth, all of this stuff because they didn't believe properly? I mean, we're being told by Christians that if you don't believe in the Trinity, or you don't believe in salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, we're told if you don't go to confession, or you don't die in a state of grace, we're told if you don't believe that the Bible is the inerrant word of God, if you don't believe these particular doctrines, that you're going to spend an eternity in hell. I mean, and there are so many teachings out there, so many confusing things, and we're being directed and pulled in all of these different directions. And you have to get it just right. If you don't have it just right, well, then you're going to have to go to hell, because that's what happens to people. That's what happens to folks for eternity when you don't get it exactly right. And when I had said earlier during the show that there are a lot of people out there who have a surface understanding of the Bible, and I'm not claiming to be a scholar. I'm not claiming that I am that I know the Word of God as best. Oh, hold on a second. I'm not claiming out there that I know the Word of God like I should know the Word of God, and that I had a wide understanding of various theologies within Christianity, within the particular belief system that I had. But as far as deep, I mean, as far as each of these topics go on a scholarly level, no, it's something I want to learn more about. And it's another reason that I had such pause with a lot of these doctrines and a lot of my confidence. Because I started to realize that I was pretty confident, and maybe my confidence was being misplaced more in my own judgments and more in my own considerations, more in my own thoughts than it was in anything. And I started to reassess, and I started to look at this and think, well, maybe I do just need to be a little bit more gracious when it comes to my understanding of these topics. And I think one of the things we don't understand is that hell was not a completely formalized, totally understood, or even accepted ideology in the Hebrew Bible. The Jewish understanding of the afterlife was not like we have today. And even in the New Testament, there were people who believed in annihilationism, people who believed in universal reconciliation, which is just essentially universalism, that denied that they couldn't really deny anything because there was no explicit teaching. There were a lot of things that were formulated and that were codified later on in church history, and hell was one of those doctrines. It was one of those understandings. Universalism is another one of those understandings. And one of the things that Kirk does in this is he does look at the justness and the love of God, how God can for eternity sentence a person to go to hell because they didn't believe in him, and then punish that person because they didn't believe in him for all of eternity. Is that just? Is that loving? Is that the character and the nature of God that we see portrayed by Jesus? And people out there be like, bless God, yes it is. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think that we can, and again, this is where we start negotiating with texts. We start thinking with our emotions, and we start thinking with our, with our preconceived ideas and what we've been taught and what we think is right and what we think is wrong. But if we look at this from just a purely historical teaching, there was no historical teaching on Jesus. I'm sorry, no historical teaching on hell. So there was no historical understanding that people are going to go to hell and burn there forever. And now folks will point to Lazarus and the rich man, but that's a parable. That is a parable. That is not something from which we can draw hard, concrete teachings of the Bible. We can't build a theology on a parable, right? Otherwise, at that time, we'd be like, well, Moses and Lazarus were standing there looking at a great chasm. They were talking to a guy across the king. It's just, you can't do that. It is a parable. And there are other passages which unfortunately, we don't have time to delve into all of those. I think that's going to take a special show. I think I am going to do a special show just on the teachings of hell, of hell, and then look at what Kirk Cameron is doing here as well. There is no explicit teaching in the Hebrew Bible about hell. And although there are passages in the New Testament that have been interpreted to mean that people are going to be punished in hell forever, there is not a consensus on that belief that's codified for us to say that is 100% true. So when somebody says, you're denying the doctrine of XYZ, well, you're telling me that there is absolutely incontrovertible truth that doctrine is in the Bible. Right? The majority of the doctrines that we have developed over time. So for you to say that I deny a tenet of Christianity that is in the Bible is, I believe, a misnomer. That's really, it's the best word for that. It's a false statement to say that I deny a biblical doctrine. No, I may deny your understanding of a theological concept, but to deny something the Bible says or a doctrine that is in the Bible, I don't think we can necessarily do that, because we are the ones who give the Bible meaning. We are the ones who assign theology. We are the ones who assign theological and doctrinal meaning to the text. So when someone says, "Oh, you deny that Jesus is God," well, show me in the Bible where it says that Jesus is God. And then you'll go through and you'll pick some passages of scripture, then you'll explain all these things, and then you'll come to your conclusion. All right, well, that is a conclusion you have reached. But here over on this side, we have other people who are looking at the same passages of scripture who are coming to a completely different conclusion that you are. So I'm not denying that a doctrine, I am not denying a biblical doctrine. I'm denying your understanding of that doctrine. So I'm not denying a biblical doctrine. I am denying your conclusions of that theology. I'm denying your conclusions of that doctrine that you've built in your theological framework. There's a big difference. But the crux of the matter is this: at the very end, Kirk's son, which I love the format. I would love to do a podcast like this or a show like this with my girls. But here's this, and this is what.
Get down to it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this?
Okay, hold on. Let me back this up just a smidge. Okay. Here we go.
Get down to it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this?
So my position, as it stands today, and again, the beauty of this is that we're always learning and growing, right? So I'm open to new light. If you guys have a position.
Hold on a second. For some reason, there's a smidge bit of a delay, and I don't know why. So I want to make sure that delay is not there. And I love also, and I want to make sure I get that in because I love how his son addresses him here. I think it's great.
Go to him.
So, Dad, get down to it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this?
So my position, as it stands today, and again, the beauty of this is that we're always learning and growing, right? So I'm open to new light. If you guys have a position that you can share with me, I will gladly change my mind. I used to hold the position of conscious eternal torment because that's just what I was taught by people that I love and trust. I've learned that there are other positions, and a very robust argument can be made for conditionalism or annihilationism, as Edward Fudge posits here. And it fits the character of God, in my understanding, more than the conscious eternal torment position, because it brings in the mercy of God together with the justice of God. It doesn't leave judgment out. It is just, but it also fits with the Old Testament picture of the fate of the wicked, which is to be destroyed, it is to die, and it is to perish, not live forever in an eternal barbecue. And the classic verses that used to get me into eternal torment, the punishment, everlasting destruction, fits beautifully with a destruction, punishment, judgment that is irreversible and lasts forever. That is the eternalness of that punishment and that destruction. So that's where I am today. How about you, James? What do you think?
I agree. I think just like...
Now, I will also say here that annihilationism is, so essentially in annihilationism, what happens is that when you are judged at the great white throne judgment, you are cast into the lake of fire and you're gone. Toast. Boop. Dead. Don't exist anymore. Nothing left. Not a zilch, zip, nothing. 0.0. Done. Right? That's what annihilationism teaches. And that is, you just cease to exist. So death is death. It's gone. You're gone. No memory of you. And then everybody else who has come to Christ through the repentance and faith are now in heaven without you and with no memory of you. And in 10 minutes, 10 years, 10,000 years, 10 million years, 10 billion, 10 trillion, 10 quadrillion, infinite tens and tens of times, you're not going to be thought of again. You're not going to be considered. You're just not going to be there. And many people think that matches with the character of God, is because Jesus says, do not fear him who can destroy the body, but fear him who can destroy the body and soul in hell. Let me make sure that I quote that passage correctly. What up here real quick? Yeah, here we go. So this is Jesus talking about the fight against the temptation of sin, right? And here is what he says. If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter in life maimed or lame. If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Let me go ahead and highlight this. Excuse me. If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and to be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the hell of fire. Where is it here? Hold on a second. I thought I had it up here. I should know this. I'm embarrassed that I don't know this. I'm looking it up real quick. Matthew 10:28. Here we go. So I'm going to go down to the new, if they have it here. Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Okay. Here we go. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Well, if your soul and your body are both destroyed in hell, does that mean that you will eventually, does that mean that you will be annihilated? If your soul and your body can be destroyed, does that mean that your body and your soul will be destroyed in hell? And that's what annihilationism is? Is that possible? That is a potential explanation for the matters of hell and whether or not a person suffers eternal torment in hell. Now, Kirk kept saying conscious eternal torment, but typically it's eternal conscious torment is the way it's called. That's a peccadillo. The entire episode of Kirk's show with his son is it's fantastic, and it's a great conversation back and forth. They use scripture, they use explanation, they talk about this, and they're even willing, as they say at the end there, to change their minds and to change their ideas on such things if you can present them evidence. So think about it. That's where we need to be when it comes to our understanding of scripture. I would love to get into more of that and talk more about those types of things, which I hope to do in the coming weeks. But today, as of today, the show's over. So, all right, folks, thank you so much for your support, for everything you've done. And until next time, make Christ supremely valuable.